Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the Relic Reveal. Day 6. We got our first combat relics today, Barbarism and Bombardment. So, I just watched the video on these, and at first I was going to be a little upset that they were the exact same, but almost the exact same. The first three things on each of these are the same for both, but then it kind of differentiates them a little bit. Let's start with Barbarism. And I'm just going to talk about the ones that do both first, so let's just get those out of the way. Melee and ranged basic attacks generate double adrenaline. Most basic attacks generate 8 adrenaline, flat baseline, and can be increased up to 9%, or percentage based when you have invention perks. We're not going to include all that. We're just going to assume 8% flat adrenaline rate for melee and ranged. So that would be 16% for both. That will be incredible. Of course, you won't be needing to use that many abilities to get up to your thresholds and your ultimates, and that pairs nicely with the next one. Both melee and range ability and special attacks cooldowns are reduced by 20%, so you can just use your stuff more often. This is better for ranged because with the 20% reduction in cooldown, with a cooldown being about a minute, you get 12 seconds off for each of the two big rotation abilities, which are Berserk, and to be honest, I can't even remember what the one for ranged is called right now, but it's the one where you put yourself in like a cyclone of like black dust. Then you will be getting 12 seconds reduced off of that. Now, Berserk only lasts for 20 seconds, but the ranged ultimate ability only lasts for 30 seconds, which can be extended up to 37. So if you're reducing the cooldown of it from a minute to 48 seconds, you have a lot more uptime with that than you do with the other one because, of course, 20 seconds to a minute is a lot more downtime. However, both melee and ranged also have a 100% hit chance, so you're going to be doing crazy amounts of damage whichever one of these you choose. And that really leaves it for all of the stuff that's the same between the two, which I'm kind of happy they did because all those things should be baseline anyway. Everything that they just gave here, if you gave it to one, you should give it to the rest. So I'm glad they did that. Now let's get into the specific one. For Barbarism, melee weapon attack range is increased by 1. So all base melee weapons have a range of 1, with some having a range of 2. This would increase all of them to have a range of 2. And I'm sure the Scythe and the new Tumican Spear, whatever it's called, is also going to have 3. But if both of those have 3, as well as I think the Dragon Rider Lance, which is a really quick weapon you should be able to pick up on your first week or two of the game mode, that is incredible. It's useful for a lot of like AoE combat stuff and might not be super useful for when it comes to bossing, but maybe it is. Maybe this will change all melee weapons from being able to attack bosses you can only attack with ranged and magic to being able to be attacked with melee now because it has that increased range. I don't know. Maybe Armado will be in the cards. Doesn't really matter because it's really not that hard either way. Melee-based damage is increased by 500 flat damage increase. So right off the bat, this is huge for the early game, and it gets incrementally worse as you get through, because of course if you have a base damage of 100, boosting that up to 600 is 6xing your damage crazy. But if you have a base damage of 3000, only going to 3500 is good, but it gets a little bit worse as time goes on. So I like it. It's not a percentage based thing, which would have been cool too, but it's just a flat damage increase. It's going to be really strong. And then melee damage heals 10% of damage dealt. This is a built-in soul split, guys. You don't even need to train prayer to get the soul split ability. Now you still want to for your damage dealing abilities, but you will not have to worry about any of that. You can train at Vyres pretty much for free with this ability, before you even have the Soul Split curse. So definitely a big one if you're trying to get to Soul Split super fast. Think about getting the melee relic. You can use this as a pre-Soul Split to unlock Soul Split, which will give you the ability for the rest of your skills to have Soul Split. And if there comes out a prayer relic that gives a significantly reduced or infinite prayer, then I don't know. This might just be useful to have, or maybe it's not. We'll see as we go along. I do like it though. I do like the fact that melee has a really nice healing potential now. Now let's move on to Bombardment. Of course, we already talked about the ranged abilities that are the same as the melee, and I'm sure the magic and necromancy are going to have the same, but let's talk about these last two abilities. Single target ranged attacks will also be cast up to 9 additional enemies within 1 tile of the target. Sorry about that, my dogs are freaking out. But single target ranged abilities, we just talked about it. That is actually crazy because now ranged has a really good AoE potential, which early and mid game it did not at all. And even late game it doesn't really have that great of range like AoE potential, but this could be very useful. The only problem is within one tile of the target. So if I'm stacking monsters near each other, like think of the Abyss, any melee monsters that come within you that are just generally clumped up around you, so abyssal demons, anything like that, will be very, very useful to attack with ranged. And this doesn't really have a good application when it comes to bosses, which is kind of where I'm looking for these relics. But if there are 2 tiers of combat relics, and this is just the initial tier to get us to the final one, this is a great, fantastic relic to have as a choice, because bombardment, of course, it's named aptly for the pretty much one and only good AoE ability that ranged has. This is a good one to get your skills up to the level that you need them to be, which is awesome, and that's what you want for an initial combat relic. But 50% chance to save ammunition in combat, that is kind of vital if you do want to do bossing. This I didn't think had a very good application. I'm like, why 50%? Who cares? But thinking about it now, the ammunition that I'm sure that they're talking about is the ones that when you hit a target with it, and activates a special proc that the ammunition has, like Ruby Criminal Bolts, well, I guess all Criminal Bolts, any of the God arrows, all of those get used. As soon as you hit them with a weapon ability, it uses an arrow. If this saves 50% of that, that is massive. That's a lot less grinding for ammunition, a lot less replenishing on that kind of crap, and it's massive for anyone who wants to use the range skill. But guys, let me know in the comments below, because these are two really powerful relics I'm really excited to look at, and I really do want to see what the magic and necromancy ones have in store for us tomorrow. I'm sure they're going to introduce those tomorrow, but we'll see then. Anyway, guys, that'll be it for today. Leave your guesses in the comment below, and I actually do want to hear your thoughts, so just let me know there too, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.